morning everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. I'm Brian Parks, and in today's video I want to talk about why you should use version control. I'm not going to get into the weeds on any particular version control system, so if you want to use Git, use Git. If you want to use Mercurial, use Mercurial. Subversion, that's fine too. Even one of the older ones, CVS, the Visual Source Safe, using version control is really what I want to talk about today. And there's always been a time in probably all of our careers, we're just starting out, we're just writing code, maybe we don't even know what version control is, and we start writing code, and we get to a certain point where everything looks really, really good, and then we make one more change and everything breaks. Now, you might know exactly what you changed. You might be able to use like an undo feature of your editor, but that's not really it's not really the best way, right? Because you have one copy of your files, and that's the only thing you have. If it works, it works. If it's broken, it's broken. And if it's broken, you have to fix it. There's no two ways about it. The reason version control can help in that situation is because it kind of it captures snapshots of your code, so you can save snapshots of your code at various points in time when it's working, when you've done enough implementation on it that you've gotten to a good stopping point, and you kind of want to save your work, and it's almost like a backup. It's not quite. Don't use version control as a backup. There are backup systems that do much better job, and maybe in a future video we can talk about why backups are good and how to do effective backups. But version control basically keeps snapshots of ideally working good, known good points in your code. Now, as to why you wouldn't do just periodically make a copy of all the files, maybe zip them up and store them somewhere. One reason is version control systems tend to do a much better job of storing all that information in a much smaller space. They do a much better job of compression and only saving the things that have actually changed, so you don't have multiple copies of like the exact same file all over your disk. The other thing that really comes into play that makes version control systems that much more powerful than just your own, essentially backup scheme is when it comes to branches. So let's say that you're working on a piece of code, you're making changes, but you're not quite done, and then you notice that there's a bug in production. The bug in production takes precedence over what you're currently working on. You need to kind of switch gears, but you don't want to lose your work while you fix the other bug. So you need some efficient way to switch between what you're currently working on, save it in a ideally a known good state, save it off to the side, switch over to what's currently in production, make that change, and ship that, of course. And then merge that change back into what you're currently doing. Now, this is where files on disk really break down. There's really no good way to merge two directory trees or merge files. There are ways to do that, but version control systems do a whole lot better job because they're actually designed for this task. Aside from that, there is the aspects of like being able to share your code. So if you're using Git, you can use GitHub, Subversion, and Mercurial and stuff like that. They have other ways of like hosting repositories on a website, so you could do that. So you could share your code with other people. Yeah, and that's a lot easier, because these version control systems do track the history, so you can kind of sync up where someone else is versus where you are, and map it back to a common point where your two branches diverged. Whereas if you're just sharing files, I'm sure you've seen this with like a Word doc, emailing Word docs around. People start adding initials to the end, and the date and then final, and by the time you're done you have, you know, the document underscore someone's initials underscore the date underscore final underscore final underscore final. Like, what? But it was final. What changed? You know, the thing that's constant in software engineering is change. Things are going to change. Software is never done. Software gets released, and then you find bugs. You want to add features. You know, whatever. You Software is shipped, but it's not necessarily done. You might want to do additional things to it. So trying to call something final or trying to act as if a particular version of software is the only version of software that there will be is kind of presumptuous. So using version control systems gets around that. There's no, you know, if you only have one version of software and that's it, you don't have any extra expense, or you don't lose out on anything. And if you want to make changes to it, you already have that set up, ready to go. You can easily make changes to it, and the source control system takes care of telling you what version is the latest and what version happened when, and, you know, tracking dates and authorship and all that good stuff. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you like the channel, please consider subscribing. I mentioned in yesterday's video that in the next week or so I'll be kicking off a pretty big project that I'm really excited about, and I think you will be too. It's actually, I've been doing some of the legwork over the last couple days. I'm probably going to use DigitalOcean for hosting. So if you're interested in checking out DigitalOcean, there's a link down in the description below. It's all DigitalOcean customers get a kind of a referral link, and that'll get you, I think, $100 credit to use for 60 days. And yeah, that's you know, DigitalOcean looks pretty cool. I'll explain more in a future video as to why I chose DigitalOcean for this project. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when I post any video, but especially when that series kicks off, and when you can start watching me go through this big project. It's super exciting. It's going to be really cool. I haven't seen anything like it, so I'm excited to do it, and I'm excited for you to be a part of it. So subscribe, click that notification bell, and I'll see you tomorrow.